something remarkable is going on 500 million kilometers from Earth. So for the first time in human history, there's actually a satellite that's orbiting a comet. Not only that, but there's actually an object there investigating life on a comet. So it was 10 years in the making, $1.6 billion. The European Space Agency launched Rosetta, so the satellite. And so it's been, like I said, 10 years in the making so that it'll eventually orbit what's called Comet 67P. And scientists are very, very enthralled by the opportunity to explore hands-on a comet, because a lot of scientists believe that's the origins of life have come from comets. The complex molecules and organic matter, such as amino acids, may have derived from comets, which allowed Earth to receive life. So on August the 6th of this year, the Rosetta satellite orbited this comet. And what was very, very remarkable is that within Rosetta was an object the size of a washing machine called Philae. And the idea is that Philae would land on this comet and then for almost a year be able to do investigations of what is on a comet. So 2 weeks ago, Philae actually landed on Comet 67P. The problem was that because the comet has no gravitational force, what happened is that the Philae lander landed, but its anchors didn't settle. So it bounced a kilometer above the comet, rotated for about 2 hours, unfortunately landed in the shadow of a big cliff. Now you can imagine what fuels these satellites and Rosetta and Philae to work. It's solar power. And because it's in the shadow of this cliff, there's no power that's coming to Philae, and therefore the batteries have depleted. However, it was remarkable because it gave one last data dump. And scientists are just enthralled by the research and the information coming from Philae about what life is like on a comet. So because Philae is no longer awake but sleeping, it can't do much. And likewise for us, we must keep awake so we can do much because Jesus is coming. Now some of you may have ventured to the shopping malls yesterday in the midst of the cold and the snow, and probably were quite rejoicing in the music and the decorations, and even car radios were singing Christmas songs from it. And so Christmas obviously is a very jubilant time. But why are the readings today so foreboding and so fearful? Like when Jesus says, keep awake for you do not know when the time will come. Whoa, why is that the case? Why should we be rejoicing like all the world is rejoicing the coming of Jesus' birthday? Well, today, the first Sunday of Advent begins a new liturgical year. And so when we celebrate New Year's, hey, we're festive, and we have horns and party hats. We sing Auld Lang Syne come midnight. But the Church takes the sentiment of New Year's differently than how we would normally celebrate December 31st. The Church takes the idea of celebrating New Year's like the Jews have done. And so the Jewish people celebrate their New Year, and it's called Rosh Hashanah. When they gather together in a liturgy similar to this, someone will blow a trumpet and announce to the people, hey, we got to get ready. And so for them, the New Year is an opportunity to reflect and almost do penance. It's almost saying, the Lord is coming. How am I getting ready for His arrival? And so essentially for 10 days, the Jewish people make a point of examining themselves, doing penance, and looking, well, how have I used my gifts to be a gift for the world? And so come 10 days from Rosh Hashanah, they celebrate the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur. And for them it's a day of fast, prayer, and so at the end of the Yom Kippur service, their sins are forgiven. They begin anew to love and serve the Lord. And so we kind of adopted this notion of the Jewish New Year even in terms of our awaiting the coming of the Lord. It's almost kind of in reverse. Okay, December 25th, we celebrate the first coming of Jesus. But before that, we actually celebrate His second coming. And so even the readings kind of prepare us for that coming. That's why the Lord says in today's gospel, keep awake, for you do not know when the time will come. And it's hard to keep awake. And so even the readings for the next few Sundays kind of remind us of awaiting his coming. And we must think to ourselves, am I ready to meet the Lord again? So this week we heard about keep awake. Next week we will actually hear about someone who pronounces Jesus' coming, John the Baptist. And he will give the announcement of the baptism of forgiveness for the remission of sins. And then in the third Sunday of Lent, or Advent, we will hear about that John the Baptist is the precursor of Jesus, that it is John the Baptist who prepares the way for the Lord. And it's not until the fourth Sunday of Advent that we actually hear about Jesus' birthday, and the angel Gabriel coming to Mary, and she says, yes, I will keep awake and allow Jesus to come fully into the world, to share his joy and his mercy and redemption to all the world. So keep awake, for Jesus is coming. Now it's difficult to keep awake because right now we experience 16 hours of darkness. Sun rises about 8:15, 8:30, sets at 4:30, so we're basking in darkness. So how can we physically keep awake when there's so much darkness? And I think the church gives us another tool to help us keep awake for Jesus' coming. And the Advent wreath is this tool during the season of Advent. So you'll notice that the Advent candles are 4. So as I mentioned to the kids, we have the 4 Sundays of Advent preparing for Jesus' birthday. And as each one is lit, it reminds us as we draw close to Jesus that we become a light and we become brighter. And the Advent wreath also helps us with the actions and attitudes that we must have to help not only keep ourselves awake for Jesus' coming, but let others know. So being a light, as the Advent wreath does, it reminds us, hey, I got to bring this light of Jesus we've all encountered here to the places where there is physical, emotional, spiritual darkness. So we must be a light. The Advent wreath is also circular. So just as God has no beginning and no end, so in a certain sense, our work, our prayer, all our efforts must be unending. We must be, for love never ends, as St. Paul says. So the Advent wreath reminds us, hey, we must do penance and use our time, talent, and treasure unsparingly, unendingly, to share with those who go without this year, or in their lives. And lastly, the Advent wreath has the evergreen branches, and evergreen leaves or needles never die off, that they always remain green the whole year long. I think so too, our lives must be full of life and vigor to share that, again, with those places where there is death, where there is darkness, and to bring that life and unending joy and work and light to those places where people are not awake. They're not ready for Jesus' coming. So we have to help them on that journey. So scientists are saying, okay, Philae is in the shadow of this cliff. Hopefully, as the comet draws close to the sun, it'll then receive the sunlight and reawaken. And as it does, it will give enormous information about what life is like on a comet, and also what a little bit about our history as a species, and also as a planet. And I think we too must be awake. And also, as Philae is going to give lots of information about what life is like on a comet, we too must this week give a lot of information about who Jesus is by our words, our actions, and our very lives. So this week, let us remain awake for Jesus' coming and let others know that he is coming.